episode of Chicago White Sox and Cubs Central, where the Chicago Cubs and White Sox are in the midst of their rivalry. Game one of a two-game series. The Cubs jumped all over the White Sox, 7-1. The White Sox are rallying late on the professor Kyle Hendricks. The score is now 7-3. Moncada was just robbed by Suzuki of what was a surefire grand slam, bases loaded hit. It did lead to a run for the White Sox. The White Sox just got I think it was Andrew Vaughn just got a infield hit to to score another run, and Kyle Hendricks at 87 pitches is now out of the game. Looks like it's another bases loaded situation coming on. No, not bases loaded. Two men on, one out. Two men on, one out. Bottom of the seventh. White Sox rallying here late against the Cubs. It's crazy, man. Late innings. It's your boy. Let me hit y'all with the intro real quick.
Welcome to the number one place for all Chicago baseball. Let's start the show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Big Bro. Another episode of Chicago White Sox and Cubs Central, man. If you guys want to hit us up, go ahead and hit us up at 773-389-6954. Leave a voicemail. We can talk about how the season has been going for both squads. You can also email us at ChicagoBaseballCentral@gmail.com. Man, listen, the White Sox have been getting throttled today. I'm not even going to front, but here they are in the bottom of the seventh inning. They finally get to Kyle Hendricks. Bases loaded situation a second ago, and Suzuki robs the returning Manny Moncada. This man just had a opportunity to hit a grand slam. He's robbed at the gate. Did score a run, so the White Sox ended up scoring. It was 7-2, and Vaughn just had an infield single. It is now 7-3 with two men on in the bottom of the seventh. And it was all Cubs, White Sox, all Cubs highlights up until a few seconds ago. So we'll check out Swanson's first of two home runs.
In the air, left field, well struck, way back, on its way, and gone. Dansby Swanson will touch them all, number 11. And the Cubs jump out. It is 2-0 here at Guaranteed Rate Field.
I made the comment the other day that Swanson was endearing himself to Cub fans because of the damage he was doing against the Cardinals.
That put the Cubs up 2-0, and the very next batter was Christopher Morel as Mark Leiter Jr. comes in as a relief pitch, but he was the second right next Christopher Morel right after Dansby Swanson.
Some things you want to lead in, other things not so much.
No doubt. Drilled in the air out towards left center. This one back on its way. Gone! And Morel turning around and pointing either at Mike Napoli or the bench, like I told you, back to back, and it's 3-0. And the Cub fans making noise.
And we got Yasmani Grandal flying out to left, ball back in, nobody advances. We still got Vaughn on base, and the Cubs are leading the Chicago White Sox 7-3 with two men on, runners on first and second in the bottom of the seventh. And here's Swanson's second.
In the air, left field, Benintendi back, and it's gone. He's done it again. Two for two with two homers. Nothing Cubs.
And you got Jake Berger to bat now, down 0-2. He down with 0-2 count. He's 0 for 2 for the day. Leiter's lights out right now. So after that home run, Bellinger hit a sacrifice fly, and Nico Horner scored on a pretty close play at the plate in the fifth inning. And then Jimenez scored on basically a sacrifice single, if you want to call it, from Andrew Vaughn in the fifth inning. And then Nico Horner hit a home run in the seventh. Swanson singled, and Happ scored in the seventh as well. Moncada hit the almost grand slam that would have made it 7-4. And then Vaughn had an infield single, which made it would have made it 7-5 actually if he would have got that grand slam. Vaughn got the infield single, and right now we got Jake Berger at bat swinging through a low and outside splitter to end the 7th inning. So the White Sox pick up 2 runs in the bottom of the 7th. But man, if Suzuki didn't make such an incredible play, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to grab that and add it to the list of highlights. But he caught a crazy play at the wall, and my son, you guys probably heard him talking at the beginning of this broadcast about how he felt about that, because he, like his dad, is a White Sox fan. Although we do watch both teams and support both teams when the White Sox and Cubs are playing against one another, we definitely root for the White Sox. Now, rest in peace to the Blackhawks owner, Rocky Wirtz. Man, it sucks to see that he lost his life. If it wasn't for him, me and my friends would have never watched hockey. Like, we watched hockey a little bit with Chris Chelios and all of them back in the 90s. But of course, Chicago is a basketball, football town, baseball town as well. And Rocky Wirtz took over the Blackhawks and made them relevant, and not just relevant, but the team to beat for a long time, as they won 3 championships in about a 5-year span. So that was good to see. So yeah, hopefully hopefully they add that Suzuki highlight so that I can check that out and get that in here. But listen, guys, this game is far from over. The Cubs bullpen has been known to give up leads this season, even though Kyle Hendricks came in and took care of business today, did his thing. He honestly would probably still be in the game if he didn't have that jam that he was in this last inning. He only had 87 pitches. That's how effective he was. And up until that 7th inning, the White Sox only had 1 hit. My son was perplexed. Like, how do you only get 1 hit? What's wrong with these guys? So it's been like that for the White Sox all season. If you guys caught me earlier this morning, I was just talking about how, even though I want the White Sox to win, the Cubs need to win these games. They are currently a couple of games out of under 500. If they win these games, they put themselves right in the mix of things in terms of possibly winning their division and the wild card, making it to the wild card. So there's currently 7 games out in their division, and that's not too bad. If they can get to within 4 or 5 games by the trade deadline, I think they're going to stand pat and keep Cody Bellinger and Marcus Stroman, and then they're also 5 games back of the wild card. So the Cubs are right there in the mix, and the closer they get to 500, the more realistic it is for them to actually have a chance to make it to the playoffs. So if you're just joining us, the Cubs leading the White Sox in the Crosstown Classic. Is that John Danks? Is in the Banks. I'm like, John Banks. Ain't seen him forever. Banks is in the game, pitching in relief for Michael Kopech. He stank up the place today, gave up a bunch of home runs. 7-3. Cubs lead the White Sox in Comiskey Park, or Guaranteed Rate Field, or whatever y'all want to call it. As he's facing Gomes. Gomes is 1 for 3 today. It's a 1-2 count. White Sox has been getting smacked around by the Chicago Cubs today. And we're going to see what happens as we go to the top of the 8th inning. Banks with another, looks like it's going to be a double at this point. So we got Gomes with a double, stand-up double to lead off the 8th inning. The Cubs are looking for, I guess you can call them insurance runs, even though they're up by 4. But man, it's crazy that the White Sox are an inch away, a couple of inches away from being down 7-5, or even putting on more runs had that grand slam occurred. You know how that goes. It could have started a rally. White Sox could have taken the lead, but they did not. Suzuki just robbed the White Sox. Patrick Wisdom, 17 home runs this season in 68 games, but he's only batting 195 with the stash out there, looking at a 4-seam fastball inside for ball 1. Man. The Cubs and White Sox are at it again. This rivalry, it refuses to die regardless of how good or bad either team is. Chicagoans will talk trash about the other team all day long. It don't matter what the record is. And if the White Sox win this game tonight, even though they suck, White Sox fans will just go crazy on sports message boards and so on and so forth, calling in on sports shows to discuss how they feel about beating the Cubs. And I'm a family man, so that's why I be getting into the games late. I be spending time with my kids. Had nice dinner, Taco Tuesdays in the building, and you can hear them upstairs arguing as they clean the kitchen. As Banks throws a high curveball, run the count 3-1 on Patrick Wisdom. 3-1 on Patrick Wisdom. Let's see what we can do. White Sox can't afford to give up any more runs if they want to have a chance at coming back in this game. Banks. Wisdom swings through a slider in the zone. 3-2 is the count. Tomorrow night, White Sox versus Cubs. 7 o'clock. And Wisdom hits the ball to first base. But we got Gomes advancing to third. 1 out. And another run is 90 feet away. Looks like the Cubs are going to try to score one more time. At least. It's the top of the order is coming around. And Wisdom did his job. He got his man from second base to third base. Probably wanted to hit a home run, but hey, we're looking at Mike Tauchman. Today he's 0 for 4 with strikeout, a foul out, and a ground out. So he's definitely looking to do some damage right here. First pitch swinging, slider high and inside in the zone. Swinging. Strike 1. So Tanner Banks is trying. Oh, that's a nice pitch. And he didn't even get it. That was a curveball over the plate. And they called it a ball. Oh, no, it's a strike. 0-2. Okay, I was about to say. 0-2 to Tauchman. Ooh, curveball low. But Banks got a decent little curveball. I see you, Brody. Gomes at third. Tauchman swings through a fastball. Probably looking for that curveball again. Then we got 2 out. 1 man on third. White Sox trail the Cubs 7-3 after a crazy bottom of the 7th inning, in which Suzuki robbed the White Sox of a potential grand slam. Moncada hit that ball all the way to the wall. Suzuki jumped with everything he had, caught that ball, and robbed the White Sox of a grand slam. Nico Hoerner's 3 for 4 today with a couple of runs scored. One of his 3 for 4 was a home run. He had 2 singles, a solo home run, 2 runs scored, and 2 stolen bases. He also scored on a very close play at the plate. Pretty good game from him today. Cubs need to win this game to get within 2 games of 500. They're trying to keep pace. They're trying to get into the race. They want to see if they can make the playoffs or win the wild card or get one of those wild card spots. Y'all make sure y'all comment, man. It's this Crosstown Classic. I already know how it is. It don't matter what the records are. Throw the records out the window. It's the Cubs versus the White Sox, and there's no love lost. As Nico Hoerner lifts one, and we got Oscar Coles grabbing it. 3 down, going into the bottom of the 8th inning. The White Sox have to get some runs if they want to at least pretend like they want to win this game. Lately, the White Sox have been going down quietly. They haven't done enough They should be sellers. You got teams calling about everybody on the White Sox roster, and the White Sox should be listening for at least a couple of those players because it's time to shake things up and get better. Just to be frank. Real quick around the league, you got Colorado leading Washington in the rain delay, top of the seventh. Atlanta down to Boston 4-1 in the bottom of the fourth in Boston. Seattle on top of the Minnesota Twins 9-6, top of the ninth in Minnesota. And then we got Cincinnati and Milwaukee. The Cubs will definitely want to see both of these teams lose, honestly. But Cincinnati leads 2-0 in Milwaukee in the bottom of the seventh. Then you got Texas and Houston going at in the top of the ninth. Houston leads 4-1. St. Louis leads Arizona 1-0 in the bottom of the third in Arizona. Arizona does have two runners on. Pittsburgh and San Diego. Pittsburgh down 2-1 in the top of the fourth in San Diego. Oakland and San Francisco are tied at 0 in the top of the fourth. The Dodgers are facing Toronto on ESPN Plus, tied at 1 apiece in the top of the second. Earlier, the Angels beat Detroit. Philly beat Baltimore. Tampa Bay defeated the Miami Marlins. And the Yankees lose to the New York Mets. Cleveland took care of Kansas City, but who doesn't take care of Kansas City? And I don't want y'all to say the White Sox. All right, Patrick Wisdom moves to third base. We got Oscar Coles at bat. Hasn't done much since the beginning of the season. He's been called back up. He still hasn't done much. He's 0 for 2 today. Looks at a ball. Today he has a ground out and a strikeout. He's batting .215 for the season, 1 home run and 9 RBIs on the season. I had higher hopes for this young fella, honestly. He did have a game-winning RBI early on in the season, and it seems like so far that's the highlight of his season. White Sox been struggling, man. Looks like they're just folding right now. Leiter, Calais hits it to second base, easy out, 1 out. It's the bottom of the 8th inning. Chicago Cubs lead the Chicago White Sox 7-3 in Comiskey Park. Looks like the Cubs are trying their best to get as close to 500 as possible before this trade deadline. Then it's going to be up to Jed Hoyer and company to decide what they want to do. Do they want to keep Cody Bellinger? Do they want to keep Marcus Stroman? Are they going to get rid of either one of those guys? Everybody wants a piece of Lucas Giolito, of Dylan Cease, even Lance Lynn. Tim Anderson is getting some looks. We already know Luis Robert Jr. ain't going nowhere. 2 outs now. 2 outs now. It's the White Sox. Benintendi pops out to center. 7-3 Cubs in the bottom of the 8th inning. On the south side, David Ross coming out. Looks like he's calling for a pitching change. Mark Leiter Jr. came in, took care of business. He's like, what you doing, Grandpa Rossi? What's happening, man? I could have done the next one. Tim Anderson coming up to bat next. Tim Anderson. Geez, he hasn't been the Tim Anderson of old. We didn't really get to see too much of the Tim Anderson that we've expected to see, the leader of this team. Luis Robert Jr. has kind of emerged as the new leader of this team in terms of coming through offensively for the squad. Tim Anderson hasn't hit a home run in over a year. He's batting just poorly for the season. It's just been a bad year for him. I can't even tell you why he just doesn't look like himself out there. And maybe a change of scenery is what Tim Anderson needs. We've heard that from the likes of Ozzie Guillen. We've heard that from different Bleacher Reports and so on and so forth. And you're hearing it right here on Chicago White Sox and Cubs Central. The White Sox are a team in disarray, and they're getting whooped on by their crosstown rival, Chicago Cubs, 7-3. in the bottom of the 8th inning. If they don't do anything right now, it's not looking too good. So let's see. Let's see what we can get done. Maybe the White Sox can make it interesting in the bottom of the 9th, but the Cubs seem to have been putting up runs in every inning. And if you guys are just joining us, I'll just go ahead and give you a quick recap. And then after the game, I'll do some of the highlights because it's just been all Cubs, really, as Michael Fulmer comes in to try to shut down the White Sox. In the second inning, Swanson hit his first of 2 home runs, 2-run shot to put the Cubs up 2-0. And right after him, Christopher Morel hit a 400-foot home run to make it 3-0. Swanson hit another home run in the 4th inning to make it 4-0. And then Bellinger hit a sacrifice fly. Nobody's been hotter than Bellinger. 5-0. Jimenez scored on the White Sox. Then only one hit from Jimenez, and he got himself all the way to third base. Ends up scoring. Horner hit a home run, 6-1 in the 7th. Swanson singled 7-1 in the 7th, and Moncada hit a sacrifice fly to right field. But that was as close to a grand slam as one can get, as Suzuki leapt and kept the ball, just kept the White Sox from getting that grand slam. It would have changed the complete complexion of the game. So you went from a potential 7-5 game to a 7-2 game, as Tim Anderson scored on like the sacrifice fly, and then Vaughn hit an infield single to get another plate run across the plate for the White Sox, and there we stand at 7-3 for the White Sox versus the Cubs, as the Cubs are just taking care of business today. They're looking like a team that wants to at least have a chance to play for something in October, maybe to play for either a wild card berth or a division win, as my kids come storming into the space. But anyhow, Tim Anderson's at bat. 3-1 is the count. He's going to try to work a walk or at least get on base to give the White Sox an opportunity to score here in the bottom of the 8th inning and make things a little bit interesting going into the 9th, as Tim Anderson swings through a 4-seam fastball. 3-2 is the count now. Bottom of the 8th inning. Cubs lead the White Sox 7-3. Fulmer on the mound for the Cubs. Tim Anderson is swinging the bat hard, but he's just not making contact in the way that he needs to affect the game positively. It's just not happening. Swings through another, fouls off another 4-seam fastball. The White Sox trailing 7-3 at home versus their hated rivals, the Chicago Cubs. Fulmer looking, delivers another 4-seam fastball. This time, Anderson does not swing. He looks at strike 3. 7 runs, 13 hits, 0 errors for the Cubs. 3 runs, 4 hits, 1 error for the White Sox as they go to the top of the 9th inning. Down. So it would be nice to see the Cubs get closer to 500, but you don't want to see the White Sox lose to the Cubs at home. They've been losing a lot, man. White Sox on a 3-game losing streak after getting swept by the Minnesota Twins, in which seems like it's just how the season is gone. They've fallen all the way down to about, I think, 12 or 13 games out of first place, and it's just not looking good for the White Sox in a season that started off with so much promise, so many high expectations. But when you're 5 games behind Detroit for third place, 12.5 games out of first place in general, Minnesota's picking it up. They're on a 4-game winning streak. They're 54-48. It's just not looking good. The Cubs, though, are 7 games out of first place on a 3-game winning streak in a very winnable National League Central Division. We're going to see exactly if they can keep going. This week is going to determine whether or not these guys are going to be sellers by August 1st or not. So if they win tonight, they beat the White Sox again tomorrow, there'll be 1 game out of first place. And then we'll see. The sky's the limit for this young team. They've been playing with moxie all season. They've been playing to win. Even when David Ross was coaching them out of games or managing them out of games. I remember early on in early June, it was said that they lost probably like 10, 11 games just based on managerial decisions. So the Cubs should, at the very least, already be within first place. Now, tonight, the Cubs have 5 stolen bases. They've stolen 5 bases on the White Sox, and those have led to runs. As Banks is still in the game. First pitch is a ball. Ian Happ 1 for 4 today. The White Sox losing. Ian Happ single in the 7th, scored a run and stole a base. And the slider is in there for strike 1. 1-1 is the count. It's your boy Big Bro on Chicago White Sox and Cubs Central. Crosstown Classic, baby. It's hard to root against one of my Chicago teams, but alas, I have to root against the Cubs today, even though they're whipping on the White Sox. White Sox get out number 1 in the top of the 9th inning. It's a beautiful night in Chicago, man. Beautiful night. You can see the Dan Ryan Expressway looking nice and crispy. Lights shining down on the stadium. Banks, another fastball outside, just completely out of control. Grandal couldn't even catch that one as it goes to the backstop. Cody Bellinger, 0 for 3 today, but nobody's swinging a harder bat. He can go ahead and knock this one out if he wanted to. They've been pitching around him a little bit, staying away from him. This guy is super duper hot, completely improved his stock to the point where teams are the phones are ringing off the hooks for Cody Bellinger on the Cubs as he swings at a 92-mile-per-hour fastball straight to center field to Luis Robert Jr. for out number 2. So it doesn't look like Bellinger's going to get a hit today, but he's been playing really well all July. If you're just joining us, welcome to another episode of Chicago White Sox and Cubs Central. Tanner Banks is on the mound, 2 outs. White Sox trail the Chicago Cubs 7-3 in the top of the 9th inning at Comiskey Park. 4-seam fastball, low and outside for ball 1 to Suzuki, who completely robbed the White Sox of an opportunity to have a grand slam in the bottom of the 8th inning. The bottom of the 7th inning. White Sox were rallying against Hendricks when Moncada hit a ball to the wall and Suzuki jumped up and used every inch of his abilities to catch that ball. If Moncada had put a little bit more power on it, we're looking at a 7-5 game. Instead, it's 7-3. And Suzuki looks at strike 1 on a 3-0 count, so we're looking at 3-1 now. 2 out, nobody on. As the White Sox going to have to try to score 4 runs at least to tie the game in the bottom of the 9th inning if they want to make things interesting. Suzuki, infield hit, over towards second, throw to Vaughn. 1-2-3 inning for Tanner Banks. Now we got the heart of the order up. Luis Robert Jr., Eloy Jimenez, and Moncada. They are coming up with an opportunity to at least make things interesting. If not, the Cubs are going to get game 1 of this 2-game set in Comiskey on the south side, and we're not going to be able to hear the end of it for Cubs fans for at least the next 22 hours. You want to go see Haunted Mansion, Cam? You're going to be scared. It's okay. It looks scary to me, too.
I was able to watch Shazam, though, the first one.
Yeah, it wasn't
The
too bad.
second one wasn't as bad, though.
We went to the theater to see Shazam, the second one.
Huh?
I said we went to the theater to see the second one. It's not that scary. Can you give me a water? Please and thank you.
Honestly, though, I've never seen Disney make, like, a horror movie type thing.
It's not. Trust me, it's going to be way funnier than horror.
I know, because it's Disney.
Exactly. It'll probably be more like Casper than the whatever. I don't watch scary movies, so I can't even give you a name. It's Insidious, I guess. Right after the game, I'll show you guys highlights. We'll talk about it and we'll get out of here. But Moncada had his opportunity. Fans were stunned. But now, hey, you can't cry with spilled milk. Luis Robert Jr. has an opportunity to at least hit a home run or get on base. 7-3 Cubs leading the White Sox in the bottom of the ninth inning. Thank you, sir. Ooh. Fulmer is definitely trying to stay away from Luis Robert Jr. You know that power that this man has. Nope. Shakes off a couple pitches. Clock gets down to 1 second. Throws a sweeper, which is basically a slider curve ball, low in the corner. 1-2 is the count as LRJ fights it off. Good old number 88. He's had a great season, although the White Sox haven't. Luis Robert Jr. looks at another sweeper low and outside. 2-2 is the count. 7-3 is the score. Chicago Cubs lead the Chicago White Sox 7-3 in game one of the Crosstown Classic. Let's see what Robert Jr. has in store as he looks at another four-seam high. 3-2 is the count. It would be nice to have somebody get on base for the White Sox here in the bottom of the ninth to make things interesting, as the Cubs have been pretty much dominant, with the exception of the bottom of the seventh inning where the White Sox put up 2 runs on a possible grand slam that was taken away by Suzuki as Luis Robert Jr. draws the walk. Luis Robert Jr. draws the walk. And the slider was just too high from Fulmer. Oh, that was a cutter. Now we have Eloy Jimenez. One swing of the bat could make it a 2-run game. He looks at a sweeper on the inside. That one was a strike, though. So 0-1's the count. Bottom of the ninth, 1 man on. Jimenez at bat. Cubs lead 7-3. 7-3 Cubs lead the White Sox. Ooh, Jimenez swings at a 4-seam fastball and fouls it off. Takes a step back, takes his helmet off, thinks about it. Luis Robert Jr. probably going on contact to try to get closer into scoring position. Down 7-3. The White Sox have to do all their work in the bottom of the ninth to make their comeback. Sweeper over the middle. Jimenez hits it up the middle. Advances Robert to second base. Jimenez is at first base. We have 2 men on. Nobody out. And just like that, the White Sox are in business. Moncada was robbed of a grand slam the last time he was at bat. Suzuki jumped at the wall. And here comes David Ross. Looks like he's about to get Fulmer. Yep. Fulmer has worked himself into a jam. And although Hendricks had himself a great game, this bullpen has been known to give up runs. And here comes the pitching change for the Cubs as the White Sox are looking to at least tie the game and at best just win the game outright in the bottom of the ninth inning on the south side in a game that the Cubs have been dominating all game long. If you're just joining us, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that notification bell for all updates for Chicago Cubs and Chicago White Sox news. I'm your boy, Big Bro. Appreciate y'all for rocking with us tonight on the Crosstown Classic between both Chicago squads. It's a tough night for me, but I always root for the White Sox when they're playing against the Cubs. It's the only time I root against the Cubs. White Sox is my first love. It's been a good game. Kopech came in and stunk the place up, but the White Sox have been fighting. They're fighting right now, bottom of the ninth inning, trying to get some runs on the board. Hopefully, they can get this win. As badly as the Cubs need this win, the White Sox need to win worse than they do in a 3-game losing streak. Pretty much played themselves out of playoff contention. If the Cubs win this game and they win a game tomorrow versus the White Sox, they'll be within one game of 500 and pretty much on the cusp of deciding if they're going to trade away Cody Bellinger and Marcus Stroman, or if they're going to stand pat and make a push for the playoffs, either by winning the division outright or by making it through one of the wild card positions. But if you guys missed it, Suzuki jumped at the wall and just took away a grand slam opportunity from Moncada in his first game back after a lengthy absence from Moncada with back issues. White Sox definitely could have used him. Alzolay in the game, ready to try to close out the White Sox. Let's see if he can get it done, or if the White Sox make things interesting by hitting a home run right here. Let's go. Hey. Got the family watching. My daughter don't even like baseball, but she want to see what's going to happen. Moncada, it's good to see him back, man. We definitely needed his bat all season. Unfortunately, we haven't had it. All right, Moncada looks at a first pitch slider for a strike. Bottom of the ninth, Cubs lead the White Sox 7-3. Go ahead and comment if y'all think the White Sox can come back and win, or if you think the Cubs got this locked down. Moncada looks at a four-seam fastball way outside. Count goes to 1-1. 2 men on, nobody out. White Sox down 7-3 at the bottom of the ninth, trying to make it interesting at home on the south side. Cubs been dominant otherwise. Ooh, swings at a slider. Had to swing at that. It was a nice pitch. 1-2. 1-2 is the count. Alzolay looking for a double play ball here to quiet down the crowd. Let's see what Moncada can do. A base hit is good enough. Swings through a slider inside. It was a ball. But again, this is his first game back, so he is not in any type of rhythm. I don't know what he was seeing out there, but it wasn't good. 1 out, 2 men on. Now the double play gets them out of the inning and out of the game with a victory. Andrew Vaughn coming to bat. He's 1 for 3 today. We know he has the power to hit it out. Ooh, looks at a slider. Takes the ball. Got to have some plate discipline, Vaughn. The White Sox are tied for second with the most walk-off wins this season with 7. And he called a slider high and outside a strike. So it's an interesting strike zone from the umpire. But Andrew Vaughn has to see that and take advantage of that pitch. He can turn on that pitch. Alzolay looking. Slider low and outside, but he swings at that one. Now it's 1-2. 1-2 is the count. 2 men on, nobody out. Luis Robert Jr. got on. He drew a walk. Jimenez got a single. And then we just had a out, and then Vaughn looking at a slider low and outside. 2-2 is the count. If you can run this count full or get a hit, that'll be good. Let's get it. Alzolay. He's been throwing a lot of sliders to see what he got next. A sinker. Got him looking. Ugh. And Vaughn takes a slow walk. back to the dugout. That sinker had a lot of movement on it too. Like it started outside and worked its way back across into the plate, into the zone. Nasty pitch. 96 miles per hour. Vaughn he didn't know what to do. White Sox down to their last out. Yasmani Grandal looks at a four-seam fastball off the plate, but I guess it caught enough of the plate for the umpire to call it a strike. Yasmani, the last hope for the White Sox to at least score some runs. As Alzolay has found his rhythm. Slider on the inside. Got them swinging at that nasty little pitch. He is in the zone. 0-2 is the count. Cubs fans on the south side cheering on the Cubs. White Sox fans probably a little bit upset that their home team didn't show up today. And then that sinker, nasty movement, got him looking. Grandal's arguing, but that pitch was in the zone as the Cubs take care of business. And while Grandal argues with the umpire, he should be arguing with himself and his teammates for not showing up tonight until Kyle Hendricks was late in the game. But that sinker was nasty. That movement is nasty. You can't really swing at it. I'm not sure what Grandal is arguing. But, hey, that's an out all day and tomorrow. Cubs get the win 7-3 over the Chicago White Sox in Chicago. Tim Anderson, once again, did not show up. Luis Robert Jr. and Jimenez made it a little bit interesting in the bottom of the ninth. Both of them reached base with nobody out. Then Moncada goes down. Then you have Vaughn go down. You just had Grandal go down. White Sox lose 7-3 to the hated Chicago Cubs. It is what it is. Cubs move closer to 500. They're looking to see if they can make a push for the playoffs, either via winning their division or getting the wild card berth, as Cincinnati and Milwaukee are taking on each other tonight. Cubs took care of business versus St. Louis last week, and now they take care of business versus the White Sox tonight. I'll show you guys a couple of highlights, and then we get up out of here. It's your boy Big Bro from Chicago White Sox and Cubs Central. Appreciate y'all for rocking with all the Central family, NBA Central, Chicago Bulls, Bears, Sky, Blackhawks, and Chicago Fire Central coming soon. And let's get right into it. We had a 2-home run night. What's going on? What's going on, BLJ? Alzolay, that sinker is something nasty. He said he makes it look easy, and I agree. He's getting into that closer role, man. He's definitely settling in. So if you missed the game today, Dansby Swanson put the Cubs on the board early.
In the air, left field, well struck. Way back, on its way, and gone. Dansby Swanson will touch them all, number 11. And the Cubs jump out. It is 2-0 here at Guaranteed Rate Field.
I made the comment the other day that Swanson was endearing himself to Cub fans because of the damage he was doing against the Cardinals. Well,
in the very next batter, we got the Wonder Kid, the young pup, Christopher Morel, doing damage.
Some things you want to lead in, other things not so much.
No doubt. Drilled in the air out towards left center. This one back on its way. Down! And Morel turning around and pointing either at Mike Napoli or the bench, like I told you, back to back, and it's 3-0. And the Cub fans making noise.
And from there on, Swanson came back to bat in the 4th inning, and he was not done.
In the air, left field. Benintendi back. And it's gone. He's done it again. Two for two with 2 homers. Four nothing Cubs.
So that put the Cubs up 4-0. A little bit after that, you had Cody Bellinger hit a sacrifice fly. So he didn't get a hit today, but he did get an RBI. Seemed like this is the first time he didn't get a hit in the whole month of July. Andrew Vaughn grounded out to first, but Jimenez scored on what was then the only hit that the White Sox had was Jimenez's hit, and then he got to second and third. He ended up scoring. Horner hit a home run. Swanson singled, and Happ scored. It was 7-1. And then things got interesting in the bottom of the seventh when Manny Moncada came to bat, and it was bases loaded. He crushed one to right field. And man, Suzuki jumped with everything he had at the gate, caught the ball, robbed the White Sox of a grand slam. That would have made it a 7-5 run. Instead, it's 7-2 as Tim Anderson scored on a sacrifice fly. Luis Robert Jr. got to third base, and then Andrew Vaughn had he reached on an infield single. White Sox ends up getting another run. 7-3 ends up being your final. Hendricks was lights out today, with the exception of that seventh inning situation that he found himself in, and Michael Kopech was just not. What happened? YouTube took me out? Is that what you're saying? YouTube was mad at me? What you saying, BLJ? But anyhow, White Sox get the loss today. Cubs inch closer to 500 as they're looking to get into the playoff hunt. It's your boy, Big Bro. I ain't going to hold y'all. We're going to see y'all tomorrow for Game 2 of the Crosstown Classic. Hopefully the White Sox show up. We already know that Jerry Mr. Burns Reinsdorf is kicking himself because now White Sox fans can't brag about beating the Cubs tonight during a season that's been a major disappointment so far. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.
Welcome to the #1 place for all Chicago baseball.